Welcome to our guest speaker for this traveling lighter drop-in. I'm really happy to introduce you to Tim Cliss, who is a non-duality speaker and is, I would say, the poet laureate of non-duality.
Oh, now you're talking.
And that's all I'm going to say right now. But I'm so glad you could join us, Tim. I love your approach to non-duality. The kind of it's like the non-stick pan of non-duality, really. And I'm really looking forward to sharing this video with more people. So thank you, and welcome to Traveling Lighter.
Is that my turn now, Ewan?
That's you. That's your cue.
Oh, shit. I really am regretting not doing any research on traveling lighter right now. So, life is essentially light. Light is absolutely weightless. Um, and I am heavy. The heaviness is me. A human being carries the self. And the wonder of wonders is that the human being is perfectly okay without a self. That there was no necessity to carry me at all. That I'll give a bit of background about myself. I suffered greatly with depression, self-doubt, self-loathing. Often flip-flopping between grandiosity and self-loathing, I would say that. You know, I'd go from typically, like most selves, to a certain extent, I was bipolar. I was either on top of the world because things were going my way and I thought my plans were, I was making progress on the path, or I'd fallen off the path. And when it got really bad, I couldn't find a path. I couldn't see a path. And so I don't know that it's the same for all selves, but most people I've ever spoken to, that's when despair sets in, when I can't see a way forward. Now, the truth is there is no way forward. This isn't going anywhere. There actually isn't any progress. There isn't any becoming. What I feared most was the actuality, which that is that there isn't a way. There isn't even a way of no way. This is already absolutely whole and complete, you know, and of itself. Now, when I say of itself, that's a misnomer as well. There isn't an of itself, but there just isn't anything else. There is only this. And this is, because there's no me separate from it, there's no knowing of this. And yet it is all that can be known, all that is known, all that is knowable. Maybe I should say the other thing I tried for a long time, I was trying to negate the self. And I did the netty thing to quite an extreme extent, where I thought the way forward was to negate everything that was relative. So everything about my story, about who I thought I was. Really, there's no need for anything to be negated. This is liberation for the story. This is liberation for everything to be just as it appears to be. And what I was always searching for when I was looking for truth and reality was, this is false. This appearance is a veil. And I wanted to see what was behind the veil. And so now what I speak about is that there's nothing behind the veil. The veil absolutely is illusory, but there isn't anything else. And so the illusion is liberated to be the seeming, the appearance, the apparent that this is. This is apparent and there is nothing else. And there is a great lightness and relief and ease in not arguing, not being in conflict, not constantly saying, there's another way this could be. What I speak about is the end of what could be and what should be. There is simply what there is, and what it is only what appears to be. And that's immeasurably lighter than life was for me. I like the word lighter because it's not better. And all I was ever trying to do, probably the same as you, is make my life better, to make it work, that I'm not a success. Well, you know, I still notched up my relative successes. In fact, I was very proud of those. This is the end of pride. You can't take any credit for what you do. But of course, that sounds dreadful to me. But the plus side is there's no guilt. There's no shame. It's not my fault I'm fucking useless. It's not my fault that I'm wonderful. And, you know, whatever anyone else suggests, that's their suggestion. But so neither praise nor criticism has, I wouldn't say it doesn't have any effect, but it has such a negligible effect compared to how it would be. I mean, I could be on top of the world with praise, and I could be totally slain by criticism, like most selves. And that's not how it is at all anymore. One thing I would say that is incredibly light is there's no doubt at all that no one can see me. So whatever anyone says about me, by the way, this would include what I say about myself, that can never be true. No one knows me. I don't know myself. And if it's doubtless that I don't know myself, then it's absolute certainty that no one else knows me. So whatever criticism is aimed at the human being called Tim, it doesn't touch me. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't have any effect, but there is a massive difference between criticism and criticism of myself. It's not an existential criticism. It's like, it's an opinion. And the lightness of everyone's view of you and what you've ever done, and how you act, how you speak, how you behave, your merits and debits, that, yeah, everyone's perfectly welcome to that opinion. I was a people pleaser because I was so afraid of rejection. And to not be the people pleaser, not be afraid of displeasure from others, you know, others' disapproval, is immeasurably lighter. It leaves me not much to do because it's very obvious now, that's what I lived my life doing. I was always, my main motivation was pleasing others to avoid disapproval. that was my raison d'etre. That was the underlying motivation of virtually everything I did, to gain approval and to avoid disapproval. And without that, I'm really, I'm really not. I'm only motivated by. Sounds terribly hedonistic, but yeah, I'd be overstressing it to say I'm a hedonist because my pleasures are so simple and I'm easily pleased. But it's really whatever brings joy, whatever. It's more like whatever the body desires, really. So things like eating what you like, drinking what you like, sleeping when you like. I'd be fucking useless at a job. No, I'm saying that I mean, you all want to be employed. This is why I said Ewan doesn't want me to speak on this. I did say that from the outset. I'm not sure I could do a job because I don't doubt sleeping on the job is frowned upon. I know that. And I love a nap in the afternoon. But it is, the motivation isn't to do what's the right thing. It's not like that. This is quite, you could say, amoral. It's not immoral. The human being is just has the morals that it's conditioned to have. I don't, that's nothing, but they're nothing to do with me. I can still blame my parents for those, as I've always done. So that's not changed. It's not your fault you have the morality that you have, but it's not yours. So again, that even morality is liberated. Ethics are liberated to be what it just as they are, which is how it appears to be. But I don't have any desire to make anyone else wrong anymore, including myself. So being less critical, less judgmental. But that doesn't mean to say that you like preference is liberated. So the likes and dislikes, that's wonderful liberation for the human being to be free to like what is like, simply because it is. So in a very real way, I could say that everything's changed and nothing's changed. But I do like the phrase traveling lighter. There is a traveling lighter, even though there's absolutely no traveling. The seeming traveling is definitely lighter.
Mm. That's beautiful, Tim. You say you wouldn't be able to work now, but I'm assuming that when things changed or seemed to change, you were still
Yeah,
working and you had to get up and go to work the next day, or is that,
yeah. And then
that right?
well, until I couldn't. Yeah.
Mm.
My last day, actually, it was physical. My last day of work, I drove to work. I got to the gate, and I couldn't drive through the gate. I turned in the driveway and went home, and I never went again.
Mm.
Now, if that isn't enough to put you off this shit, then I don't know what is really. Because you're going, oh shit, I can't just turn around and not go to work. I don't mean that, but it came to a point where I'd pushed myself for a long time to keep going.
Mm.
You know, I mean, self does come to a breaking point, and like that's how it felt.
So you like David Essex, and that'll be the day when he goes to the bridge and rips all his school books and throws us one of my favorite films when he does that.
Oh, I love that film. That was one of the first films I ever went to see on my own.
Yeah.
We're of a certain age.
So the teachers do that too.
Teachers can do that. Yeah, anyone can do that.
But
And I will say that was devastating. That felt like the end of the world. It really,
mm,
I mean, it did. That didn't feel liberating because it wasn't it. There was no liberation in that. That was despair.
mm,
I just couldn't carry on with the charade because it felt like a charade for a long time. And I think inauthenticity, self can maintain. I mean, there are plenty of selves who maintain it for a lifetime. I know,
mm,
but for others, it becomes unbearable. And yeah, I couldn't play the game anymore.
yeah. A lot of people, when they talk about this awakening, it's kind of associated with bliss and all this kind of thing. But for you, it was sadness, wasn't it?
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
I could say it still is.
Mm,
That's why that's why I'm never very. The thing is, I laugh about it, but there is a great sadness in not achieving. I mean, there's a great sadness for all selves who have tried so hard to be this imaginary successful self.
mm.
There's a beautiful book by Dorothy Rowe called The Successful Self. I don't know if you know Dorothy Rowe. She's an Australian psychologist. Beautiful, lovely books. They're sort of pop psychology, but I think she's a great writer. She uses great metaphors and analogies. And she wrote a book called The Successful Self, and that sort of summed up what I was trying to be, um, the best self that I could be, best me.
Mm.
So I was trying to polish up, fill the gaps, fill the void. There's When I was depressed, I wrote a poem that began, "There's a hole right through the middle of me. There's a hole where myself should be." And that's really all of my motivation, was this fear of this emptiness through the middle, right through the center. And I was terrified of this emptiness.
Mm.
And now it's so clear that the emptiness is nothing to fear because it's nothing. I was always afraid of being nothing, whereas actually being nothing is absolute lightness. It's weightless.
Like I compare it often to a black hole
Yeah.
in the sense that no useful information comes out of it.
No, there's nothing. Well, actually, nothing comes out of it.
Yeah. It actually destroys information.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Whatever goes in doesn't come out. Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Um, and of course, what I would send into this space were questions, and I always received the same answer, which I titled my book "This Deafening Silence," because the answers that I got were no answers at all. So the thing about this is, it's the antithesis of what self normally perceives as helpful and useful, which is an answer. Where in actual fact, the most loving, the most compassionate is no answer at all, because there's no requirement. Because of course, an answer can always be disproved.
Mm.
And there's no disproving silence. There's nothing to disprove, and there's nothing to defend either. Of course, I was always self is always in the game of being defensive, self-defensive, and there's nothing to be defended.
Mm.
And the wonderful thing about speaking about non-duality is I can't get into an argument with anyone about non-duality at all. It doesn't need any defense. It's not a point of view.
Mm.
It sounds like a point of view to others, but it's not. Um, so there's great freedom in that. And the emptiness that I am is the emptiness that you are, and the emptiness that everything is. This black hole, this emptiness, this nothing, this no thing, this void sounds dreadful to me because I don't know where I am in the void because I'm not. And self is always afraid. All I really want, all self wants, is to know the ground that I stand on. And it became very clear to me that I was very happy being miserable. Self likes misery because misery is really clearly, it's the most intense feeling of I exist. And when I say like it, I don't mean enjoy it. I don't mean there's pleasure in it. It's dreadfully painful. But when self is in pain, it's the most alive self can ever feel, you know, in my misery. Self loves self misery. And when I talk about the sadness is mourning for all of that. It's it wasn't necessary. You know, I was mourning for someone, and I was afraid for someone who doesn't need protecting. There's there's no one inside. The body is empty. This is sacrilegious to most selves, the emptiness of the human body. Of course, it's full of life. The emptiness is full. It's full of whatever you want to call life, being or aliveness, energy. All of those words can resonate. But not me. There's no me inside. And there is a grief in the loss of me, in the seeming loss, that, oh, actually, it's not that I've died, or it's not that I could die. It's that I was never alive. There was just the story of my life. And the story remains. But then your story and my story have an equality that they never had for me, because of course I was only ever interested in my story, really. I can listen to your story, but what does everyone do when you speak to them about your story? They try and one-upmanship you, trump you with their better story, or relate your story to my story. Always. It's always in relation to me. And now, in a very real way, nothing is in relation to me. Everything is just as it. When I say just as it appears, I mean how it seems to be. There isn't anything else. And I guess, I mean, believe it or not, 20 years ago, I did train to be a mindfulness teacher. What I was doing, I started doing an MA in person-centered counseling. Carl Rogers, person-centered counseling. And I thought, this is just sort of mid-crisis. This is not a good idea. It was disastrous. But during that, I did half the course of mindfulness, becoming a mindfulness trainer.
Mhm. So maybe it's a good point to bring in Paul and Kelly if you have any questions that you'd like to ask Tim. Is that all right, Tim?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, yeah. Did you say are you already a teacher, Paul?
Yeah, I am. I'm a secondary school teacher. Yeah, yeah.
Where?
In Cardiff.
In Cardiff. That's tough. That's a tough gig, isn't it?
Oh no, it's not. It's all right. Yeah, it's okay.
No, I always think Cardiff's rough.
No, do you? Oh dear.
Oh, yeah, I always think that South Wales terrifies a boy from Cambridgeshire.
No, I'm in a very nice school in Cardiff. It's yeah, I
See,
can't.
now there you have it. You're at a very nice school in Cardiff.
Yeah. I'm just really interested in how the sort of story of how you went. You say that you drove to school and you drove to work and you turned around, and then I'd just be interested in how what happened between then and now, really, and sort of a bit more of your story.
Fucking hell, that'd be like trying to tell you three life stories all in one go, I think. What happened between then and now?
No, not yeah. Well,
What
how did you achieve? How did you achieve? How, not achieve, all right. How did you seemingly achieve? Um, I always tie
You
myself.
don't have to do, by the way, don't think speaking to me, you have to say apparently or seemingly or any of that.
Okay.
That's
How did you? How did you? How did you move from a position where, or seemingly move from a position where you were full of self-doubt and uh, miserable to where you seem today, which is in a very
well, the
different.
first thing I'd definitely say is I didn't do that. That's really obvious. One thing that's not in doubt is that whatever has happened has nothing to do with me. So, I mean, you couldn't get a more radical shift than that. The most radical shift is from going, oh, it's all my fault, for everything that went tits up. And, oh, yeah, I did that for everything that went well. So I take credit. That's no longer possible. And by no longer possible, I mean, it just doesn't happen. And just that just stopped happening. I mean, between that day and now, the first few months from that day were torturous, were dreadful, were full of despair. I mean, I've gone to the doctor. My wife said, well, you've got to go to the doctors. You're clearly unwell. And then I didn't get better. Then I got a lot worse in terms of, well, what the fuck am I going to do? Fucking, this is all I've ever done. I'm not, and there's no doubt. So I have been depressed before, but there was always, oh yeah, I'll come through depression. There was none of that. It was like, no, it's so clear. It's doubtless that I will not be doing what I've been doing. And there was no escape from that. So of course, when there's no sense of escape, there is always this sense of despair. I don't know if you've ever felt despair, but nearly everyone I've spoken to, it's always a sense of imprisonment without any possibility of escape. It's a black hole, or it's a prison cell without any light. It's inescapable. I think the reason it's inescapable is because this is inescapable. The whole notion of the whole nature of self is always in escapism, and there is actually nowhere else. There's no escape from here. This is the thing is, so this is, and for self, that feels like being imprisoned, but this prison cell is always empty. And so, of course, a prison cell that doesn't have anyone inside is not a prison cell. The one inside the cell builds the walls, locks the door, holds the key, imprisons oneself. Self is the prisoner, the jailer, and the prison cell itself. But the inescapability of this because this annihilates the future. There isn't a tomorrow, and it's everything that I feared most because I lived for tomorrow, and I live for tomorrow because I'm not good enough today. I'm not complete today. I'm not whole today. I'm not satisfactory today. I'm not okay today. But tomorrow, so I need tomorrow. I desperately need tomorrow. And what I'm suggesting is there is no tomorrow, and actually there is no need of tomorrow. That this is perfectly okay, exactly as it is. That really didn't answer your question, Paul. What happened between now and then? A fuckload of shit that I could go on about for hours that would be of no consequence at all. So to begin with, it was really grim. It was grimmer than grim until it wasn't, and then it was okay.
Was that a moment, or was that a period of time?
It's when I was in despair. I mean, that time seemed like I have to say, that felt like years. It wasn't years. It was probably about 6 months, I think. I can't remember exactly. But what I mean is despair is I didn't. So there's me saying I have no idea. I've failed. So there's this terrible. I always had a very great fear of failure. Pretty much like every self I know. And this felt worse than failure because it felt like there'd be no way back. Yeah. And then one day it was one day I woke up and then there was this overwhelming peace that it was okay. So it was okay that I had this dreadful story of failure. So there was still the story, and for no apparent reason, it had gone from, well, that's the end of the world, to, oh, it's perfectly okay. And there's nothing had changed. Because, of course, absolutely everything is okay, and the okay is that it is as it is. This is all there is. It's already all there is. There isn't anything else. So, of course, it is okay because it is. Whether it's okay or not, it's okay that it's not okay. It's okay that it's shit. So I'm no longer trying to make it better. I stopped trying to heal myself, or there was a stopping. I didn't stop trying. There was a stopping of trying. I don't try to heal anyone else. Everyone's perfectly okay. I literally see every human being exactly as they are, as perfectly okay, no matter how shit they feel, no matter how shit they feel about themselves, no matter what they've done, no matter what they, whether they're beautiful or ugly, whether I find them a pleasure to be with or repulsive. It's okay. That's what I'm speaking about, and that allows me to speak about unconditional love. That's the unconditional love. So it's unconditionally loving to hate, to be disgusted, to detest something or someone. That's unconditional love. And it's wonderfully light and free that every feeling that comes is okay. There's no rejection of rejection. So if you see somebody and you go, well, they can fuck off, that's perfectly okay. You don't go home and then remonstrate with yourself going, oh, fucking hell, how unreasonable. I should have given her a chance. I didn't. No, it's fine. It's the inability to get it right. You know, you've always been trying to get it right, Paul. I did. That's all I was ever doing. I was terrified of getting it wrong. Well, here's the thing. Nobody gets it right. Isn't that the most wonderfully liberating thing you could ever say? Wouldn't you want to tell all your students you can't get it right? I know you can't say it. I couldn't say it as a teacher, but wouldn't it be wonderful to tell all the kids, you know how worried you are about getting it right? Don't worry. No fucker has ever got it right. Wouldn't that be the most liberating thing you could ever say? So freedom from the possibility of getting life right. You know that life is a job and you have to work at it. And then you might, if you're really one of the lucky ones, it's very rare, but you might be one of the few, the tiny few, who actually get life right. When in actual fact, there's no possibility of getting it wrong. So that's, I really enjoy telling anyone who wants to hear that. It's just a beautiful thing to say to anybody, especially when they feel shit about themselves. In a very real way, Paul, I can remember sort of, there's bits of memory about what's happened in the last, however many, about 8 years. But it also is clear when you ask me that, I have to make it up. I don't know whether you realize that you do that or not. Most people don't, most people won't have it. But if I ask you or Ewan or Kelly, what happened between then and then, that will be created absolutely new and fresh, just like everything else that will appear, and it will be a totally new. Memories are not old or new. Memories are completely, they are the newness of memory, because of course, if there's anything that's old, it's a memory. It's bullshit. You know, because sometimes a memory doesn't appear. I mean, it's not that you can't find the memory, it's that it just doesn't happen. Memory happens just like everything else, or not. And I find now I can try and cobble some story together. But here's the thing: there's no doubt that it is being cobbled together, and that's what everyone calls their life. Your life is this cobbling together of an abstract story of bits and pieces, just. And then, of course, how light is life when it is just a cobbled together, made up story? It's beautiful. And your cobbled together, made up story is just as relevant in its utter irrelevance. It's of no significance whatsoever. It's just lovely stories that we tell each other. Otherwise, we'd have very little to say. We'd just grunt and say, give me food or sex. You know, like chimps do.
There's an activity in the course, it's called Journey to Now. And I just get a plastic bottle and everybody's sitting in a circle. And I put the bottle in the middle and I say that represents now. And where you're sitting is when you were born. And I give them lots of art materials and then they have to create, or they're invited to create like a journey of their life. And it's very touching to watch.
Oh, it's
And
beautiful.
I was working out, why is this so moving? And I just thought, well, it's because they're making a life. I mean,
Absolutely.
I like they're cobbling it together.
Oh,
You
it is, really is.
know?
Because you know, I don't know if it was if when you do that exercise that everyone's aware, but you could say afterwards. So, do you think if we did this tomorrow, or we do this again, would it be the same? No, of course it wouldn't.
I do say that, yeah.
Yes, because of course there isn't an actual
Mm,
history of you.
yeah.
It's ever fresh. I don't know if you know Sailor Bob. He died recently. He's a Australian non-duality speaker, and he always talked about the ever freshness of this,
Mm,
always new, and it is beautiful. The newness, we can't. But while I'm invested in my story as being real and true, and something solid, a real solid reality of my life, there's all the weight is in that. You know, they're like rocks. Those realities of this really happened to me, and this really made me who I am today, which self is so keen on telling everybody. I mean, you listen to interviews, and all people want to say is, "Oh, yeah, and that's these terrible traumas, these hardships made me what I am today." And I just want to scream, "Fuck off with your self-loving bullshit." You
mm,
know, me and my so important story. Because what this does is just makes all stories equally. They're more beautiful for it. Like you say, these beautiful works of art, which are our lives.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Do you want to ask anything else, Paul, or shall I bring in Kelly? Kelly's wants to answer.
Sorry, Paul, what did you just say exactly what you wanted to get from me from your question? Because I'm still pretty sure I haven't answered it.
I think I got what I wanted. I was interested in what the moment was where you went
Yeah,
from despair, and you told me that you
right.
woke up one morning. You said it was
Yeah, there wasn't a moment. No, because that wasn't a moment. What it was that because it was. I will say in that moment it was obvious that I'd been waking up for days like that.
right.
There was just this peace, but the peace was the emptiness. So the sense I made of it, or trying to make sense of it, was that I was always afraid of being nobody. I mean, it's the biggest insult you can give to a self, isn't it? You call most selves, well, you're a nobody. It's the greatest insult, whereas actually it's very complimentary. And I was always afraid of this not being someone, and not being someone who my parents would be proud of, my teachers, I wouldn't be proud of. And then, yeah, it was this okayness with what appears to be complete failure, because it was like the lowest point, seemingly the lowest point of my life. And then there was this overwhelming peace and okayness. So I was brought up a Christian, and it was really obvious. It seemed like, this is what Jesus meant. The okayness that passes all understanding. That's what, in the modern version, that it's okay, that it's shit. Why should life? And it was very obvious that life wasn't interested in me and my success and my
Thank
my
you for
my
thank you for
family.
sharing with us, Tim.
Oh, thanks, Kelly.
It's I can't really think of a specific question because every time, sorry, because every time that I do have a question, the next thing you seem to say crosses out that question.
Well, who knew I was that good?
Yeah. So I feel a bit surprised and shocked, whilst also like, yeah, it's you share in quite a fun way. Thanks.
Oh, thanks, Kelly. I appreciate that.
Mm.
Well, I do feel a lot of non-duality speakers, it seems like they're afraid of the personal because it
Mm.
sounds like it's about me. Well, this is the end of the fear of that. This is liberation for what you called your life, what you call individuality, what you called you. So the greatest paradox of all is that without you, the uniqueness of the human being that you've called yourself, what you've called yourself, which was never yours, is never yours, can never be yours, it isn't owned. This uniqueness of because no one has an experience that you have, Kelly. It's just that you don't have that experience. That is all there is. So what you've called you is actually all there is. It's just not yours, and it's not you. You won't know what it is. You can't know what it is. It's everything. So without you, there is no other than you. That's probably the most paradoxical thing you could ever say.
Mm.
You got to be careful who you ever say this to, because they'll go, well, that's obviously complete bollocks. Which, I mean, rationally, all of this is pretty bollocks, really. But the thing is, there's no me, but there's no other than me. So there's nothing There's nothing else.
Mm.
Whereas what I conceived as myself was always separate from everything else. It's this notion that I am just this tiny part of this existence. No, there is just this. Now, whether you call this existence or life or being or it doesn't matter.
Mm.
But there isn't that sense of separation anymore. That's what seems to evaporate. Now, it for me, it wasn't a radical shift that just happened all in one go. There wasn't a moment. It seemed like my analogy is it's like the light on the morning dew on the grass, and it
Yeah, I was thinking,
evaporates.
was it to do with connecting more with trees?
Oh, I love the trees.
Yeah.
There is a love of trees, yeah.
Mm.
But then
Yeah.
I always had that, and again, so there isn't anything new. I still the love of what Kelly loves is just what Kelly loves. It's not that she loves it. There is just a love of. So that then it's liberated from being yours. Everything liberated from being yours is so wonderful.
Hmm.
You
Well,
know.
yeah, I think I'd probably prefer to go like middle way with it.
Well, it doesn't matter what you prefer, Kelly.
Yeah. I don't know.
Where would the middle way be?
Well, like some of the stuff that you're saying, and like I suppose the title of the thing, like traveling lighter. Excuse me, but I
Mm.
don't know. Also, I suppose it's a bit like sugar, but I do enjoy like owning my love.
Oh yeah. Oh no, you're more on the loss.
Yeah. But then
Oh,
why don't I could just have 50-50 or something?
oh yeah, you would love your cake and eat it. Of course you would. Who the fuck doesn't want to do that, Kelly?
Mm. But like just be aware of it being
Well, of
unhealthy.
course. And now, of course, that is now there are thousands of speakers who will talk to you about how you can be more or less aware, and
Yeah.
they're much more popular than me. And so you've got a huge choice of who you would listen to, and you go, "Oh, that's more like it. They're letting me be myself, and I can be more aware of freedom and lightness, and
So
yeah,
you
and me. So me's happy, and I get to eat the cake."
mm,
But yeah, no, Kelly, all I'm suggesting is that you already don't have any say in that. So the fact that you prefer the middle way that's how it is.
yeah.
I'm not trying to make it wrong in any way. I'm just saying you wouldn't be alone in wanting. Well, can't I just keep the good bits of myself? You know.
No, well, I don't mind the suffering.
No, oh, bless you. Don't mind the suffering. I fucking did. I was always bemoaning my suffering.
Mm.
The thing is, what I'm speaking about isn't a way. I didn't choose any of it. It's not. It's not by. It's not. It's not by any.
Mm.
I'm not trying to take credit for any of it.
Mm.
It's not. It's not easy though, because everyone else will still blame you, and so you do have free will and choice. And of course, you brought this upon yourself. And others will say you're getting what you deserve because that's how most people see life. But the reason I talk about this as unconditional love is that you're not getting what you deserve. You don't deserve this. There's no this. Everyone is equally undeserving because there is no one. There's no deserving nor undeserving. This is totally free. This is can be overwhelmingly the sense of love that this is the only gift. And it is a gift. It's completely free. There's no charge.
Mm.
It's but there's no reward either. This being is its own reward. There's no crock of gold at the end of the rainbow. There's just the rainbow. The rainbow is the reward. There's no gold. And there's no traveling to an end. So this beginning is the end. This is the end as well as the beginning. And this illusory space where I live in the space between the beginning and the end, between birth and death. And there is no space. Birth and death are not two. This appears and disappears with no space between. So we still tell the stories, but they're not believed. So there aren't true stories and false stories. All stories are just stories.
Mm.
So spiritual stories, scientific stories, psychological stories, mythical stories, personal stories. All beautiful.
We're coming up to the hour, Tim. I think my feeling is, unless there's more questions, there's a good time to end. I love you, Tim.
Thanks, you.
You're like the Cortina man of non-duality. I say that in the nicest way possible. It's like,
yeah, he gives with one hand and then just fucking take it right back with Cortina, man. At least make me Capri, man.
but you know what I mean? It's like 2.5 children or whatever, and like.
No, I'm Capri, man. I've got a yellow Capri with a black vinyl roof, Ewan.
All right. I'll give you that.
You know those from 1978.
I do. But and it's probably totally nonsense, but you give people like me hope that, somebody with a family and with a job.
Yeah. Well, when this seemingly was happening to me, it was like, well, why me? I'm the most ordinary. I've got the most stereotypically middle-class life you could possibly have.
Yeah, you didn't go sneak off to India to meditate.
No, I never did any. Right, here's the thing. I've done fuck all. I've taught football and tennis. That's what I've done with my life. And now I play too much golf. Yeah, it seems. I will say a lot of my spiritual friends, they totally dislike. They hate me. They absolutely hate me. How the fuck did you get this? No matter how many times I tell them that I didn't get it. But the envy is really quite malicious at times. which amuses me no end. I went, well, it's hardly, it's not bestowed anything special on me, but of course the fact that I just speak or write about it is too much. Almost like, how dare you? How dare you? Who the fuck do you think you are? There's quite a bit of that about.
Yeah.
But again, that's okay. That's all right.
Well, I hope you join us again at a later date, because this happens every Monday evening at 7, and you're welcome to join if you want to. But it's usually, one of us leading a kind of practice, and then we have guest speakers every month. And I hope you'll join us again, Tim, because
thanks. I know, it's a pleasure. Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Kelly.
Thank you.
It's such a gift. Yeah.
Yeah, all the best.
Thanks, Tim.